Today we're going to talk about Twitter, how it was created, what really happened, how diabolical disaster it could have been, what is the current situation of Twitter right now, and how we can create Twitter in a different way, or use Twitter in a different way. Even Twitter can uh, establish Twitter as a much better platform. So let's just start into it. So first of all, how Twitter was created. Actually, Twitter wasn't even a thing at the start. It was like thought by one person, but it wasn't a business model. It wasn't the first business model. The first business model was a podcast platform named Audio, created by Noah Glass, a entrepreneur. So he came with the idea where if you call to a particular person, sorry, if you call to a particular number, that call that you had will be converted into mp3, and that mp3 will be hosted on internet so people can listen. That was the whole basic idea of the podcast. And the Audio, ODEO, and it was looking pretty good. But before even the start, or even at the start, that idea seems to be fading quickly, because it was during 2003 and 4. At the time, the iPods were selling crazy, like up to 203 million units all over the world. And at the time, Apple had announced that you will get podcast into the iPods. So from the start, it was like pretty relevant for Audio to actually go with the idea. But still, Audio got still continued. One of the very few investor in Audio was a guy named Evan Williams, a ex-Google employee, and the guy who created the company Blogger, which is sold to the Google. He came up and he was very interested, and he invested money in Audio. And because he was the investor, he had more money. He became the CEO. After some time, the guy named Jack Dorsey, yes, the current CEO of Twitter, joined the company. He was the early in 14 employees that joined at Audio in 2003-4 that time span. And as I said earlier, the Audio wasn't going that much well, because the platform was already there. That kind of platform was already in Apple iPods, and company seems to be not doing that much. They didn't have that much investor, so it was already looking pretty rough. So Evan Williams and Bitstones, by the way, Bitstones is another guy who worked in Google, which was brought by Evan Williams. Evan Williams and Bitstones were friends, and I think they still are. So Evan Williams asked Bitstone, Noah Glass, and other employees to come up with a new idea for the company. And the guy named Jack Dorsey, again the current CEO of Twitter, the bearded guy, came with the idea that on the SMS app, if you send a message to your friend, that message will be appearing to other contacts that you have, kind of like the current Twitter. You only get the tweets from those that you follow, except the promotional ones. Those are the bot ones, but you don't get the tweets from other people. You get tweets from only that you follow, and your tweets will only go to those that follows you, except if you go to the trending tab. But that trending tab came way after. The early Twitter was just simple, and it was like the early Twitter on the SMS app. So if you send a message to the friend, that message will be shown to the only that those people are in your contact list, in the friend list. Basically, it's like the group chat. And that idea was pretty good, but investor didn't like, including the CEO of the company, the chief executive officer of the company, Evan Williams. But he still gave a shot, and so he formed a team with the Bitstone, Jack Dorsey, and Noah Glass, and told him that to work on that, while the Audio was controlled by Evan Williams and other employees. And as the time went away, more and more, Twitter was looking pretty good. There were like 5,000 niche enthusiastic users on that platform, using that platform. And while it wasn't profitable, but it was growing very well, so it had signed that it could become a next big thing in Silicon Valley. While the audio was going anywhere. And since now the Apple is releasing their iPhones in 2006 and 7, that just pretty much would have killed audio anyway. So even though Williams didn't have that much faith, he still realized that Twitter is the next big thing for their company, not the audio themselves. But investors still didn't have that much interest. So in 2006, it is reported by Business Insider. I will drop a link for that article in description box. They stated that in 2006, even Williams asked investor to sell all the stocks for the $5 million, so he can have the ownership of the audio company. And he gave the reason that audio is not going that much well, and he has a doubt that the Twitter would go that much successful, or would go that much far in very few time without any kind of big risk. And also that he didn't want investor to lose their hard-earned money on these risky platforms. And he told them that I can buy your stocks for $5 million. So for those of you who don't know how the stocks really works, is that just because you are the CEO of the company, that doesn't mean that you own the company, especially for the new companies, because it's not necessary that the guy or the girl that have the idea can have the money. So they ask for fundraisers, and so the investor invests the money in expecting that if a lot of any kind of profit that these people will make, investor will take the profit out of it. So even though even Williams was one of the few investor, he still didn't have that much money as compared to other investor, the majority of them. So even Williams wanted the ownership of their whole company, and they gave him ownership by he just bought the stocks for $5 million. Now, buying the company for $5 million, buying the stocks means just buying company indirectly for $5 million. It's a lot of, no, it's not, sorry, it's way less money. It's way less, even in 2006. And during the and according to this article, in 2006, that company's worth went from $5 million to $5 billion in just 7 months. In just 7 months, that company's worth went from $5 million to $5 billion. Now that's a lot. That's just a lot. And it was in 2010. Imagine how much it would be. How much it is in 2020? I think it's probably more than $20 billion, pretty sure. And this is where things get a little bit dirty. First of all, about Evan Williams. Evan Williams turns out is not that much a good of a guy. First, when he sold his company, the blogger which I told you earlier, to the Google, he was kind of ass. The amount of greediness that he had was so much. One of the very few employees who worked at Blogger told the Business Insider that when he sold the company to Google, the Blogger company to the Google, the employees that were working at the Blogger didn't have much better compensation with the Evan Williams. So he just sold the company without giving any kind of signs or attention. He didn't tell the employees that what's going to happen to their families, what's going to happen to their agreements, their contracts. Is the Google going to fire all of these people and going to put some new people? He didn't compensate at all. He just took the money and just went away, and that pretty much pissed a lot of people. Also, he when he invested a lot of money in audio, he asked Noah Glass that he wanted to be CEO, even though Noah Glass was the one that came with the idea audio. And third of all, the biggest ball dropping movement is that he fired Noah Glass. Yes, you heard it right. creator basically of audio, and also the guy who worked hardest in Twitter, the early Twitter, according to early employees who worked in audio. Yes, Jack Dorsey came up with the idea, and nobody's denying it. But the most hardworking man, the person who put a lot of work, was the Noah Glass. So when he got fired, everybody, I mean every single person in the company were just shocked, pretty much shocked. And even the Noah Glass was very fucked up. I mean, this is very fucked up shit. It's a diabolical disaster. So in 2010, Business Insider asked Noah Glass how he felt, and he said, and I quote, "I felt betrayed by my friends, by my company, by these people around me. I trusted and that I had worked hard to create something with. I was real shell-shocked. I was like, wait, what's the value in building these relationships if this is the result? So I spent a lot of time by myself and working things alone." So he pretty much got fired for no reason. Actually, there is kind of reason if you think so. So a lot of early employees who worked at Twitter, audio, same thing, told Business Insider that Noah Glass was fired because he was raged at a particular woman during work. He was kind of like being asked, like screaming at her or yelling at her to just do her work. Now, if it's true or not, I don't know. Nobody knows probably. If it's true, he could have gotten punishment. He could have gotten suspension or some money cut from his salary. But just firing him at one instance, it's not a good idea. And that wasn't actually the main reason. It was just a excuse to fire him. The main reason was Evan Williams, turns out, it's kind of like ass. Evan Williams wanted to become CEO of the company for rest of that company, probably. And that's why when he invested money at audio at first place, he wanted to become CEO. That's why he became CEO, not the Noah Glass or other people, because there were also other investors who did invest more money than Evan Williams, but still Williams went with the idea of that he's gonna become CEO, and under his CEO, under his leadership, audio didn't go anywhere. While the Twitter was the one that did go well because of the Noah Glass, Jack Dorsey, and Bit Stones. Also, Noah Glass at some point wanted to become CEO. Of course, he was the one that created audio, and also he worked the hardest. So he wanted to become the CEO of the CEO of the Twitter. But Evan Williams wanted to be the CEO for rest of the time span, and that kind of messed up, and they clashed with each other a lot of time. And that's why Evan Williams just fired Noah Glass like this, like he just Thanos'd him. So that was the main thing. But later, Williams did admit that Noah Glass didn't get that much attention, credit, or anything like that about his work that he did in audio as well as Twitter. And he also appreciated that Noah Glass was the one that came with the came with the name Twitter. He was the one that actually gave the idea about the name Twitter. And yeah, that's how basically Twitter was created. As you can see, another PR business bullshit happened, and people clashing over each other. But my take is that Evan Williams was the one that actually could have destroyed the company as a whole. We would not have Twitter at first place. Now, a lot of people hate Twitter. Sometimes I do, but you gotta understand that Twitter is the only platform that is very uncensored. You can still have opinion, any kind of opinion. Your left wing, right wing, any kind of political opinion that you have, you can at least post on Twitter. There is some sort of censorship, and sometimes you might get a little bit in trouble, or you might get pissed off because how unfair it could be to a particular party, a particular person. But it is still there, and it is still respect the freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And we could not have any of that if Williams was just going so much. If he would have gone way too far, we did not have a tutor at all. And firing the one that was like kind of like godfather in the company, that created a lot of work and put a lot of work, and firing him just because your own sake, it tells you that what kind of person Ian Williams was. Even though what he did with his own company Blogger, and how he did not compensate with his own employees and just became greedy. So that's how Twitter was created.
Not quite sure exactly what has saved me from the brink of madness, pulled me back from the edge of insanity. I've been grappling with this dilemma. Has to do with this saxophone player, street busker, an Asian man who stands on the street corner and he plays his saxophone every single night, not very far from here. He plays the same thing over and over again, the same melody, like the same 5 notes. Something from The Godfather, something, I don't know, something San Francisco, something Tourist. And he's acting like he's getting into this whole like saxophone player persona. He's got this little funky hat and he wears, and he's got like, just totally gets into it, like when he's playing the saxophone, and he's like not into it. He's totally faking, he's totally acting. And I walk by him and I see him, I'm like, ugh, it just bothers me, but I have to give him respect for playing music. I don't want to impose my will upon him to stop. I mean, he can do it. The problem is, well, here's the problem, is that he moved recently just below my window, outside, down below on the street. Like, it was okay when he was a block away, but now he's right there, like right in my world, in my eardrum, like playing this like melody over and over again. I want to go tell him, like, I want to say, like, dude, leave. Can you please like go play somewhere else? Is it possible? Here's some money. Here's $20. Here's $100. Please, like, somewhere, anywhere else. I don't care. But I don't know. He seemed to have stopped. I don't hear him anymore. I hope he doesn't play anymore.